Xin chào quý vị. Uh, a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Madame Fong, for introducing us all to the event today. It's really a great honor for me to represent ADB at this forum, at this Sustainability Leaders Summit today, here in the vibrant Ho Chi Minh City. I'd like to thank the organizers, Forbes Vietnam, for the excellent arrangements being made here. I think the documentary that was screened just a few minutes ago, and also the remarks made by Madame Fong, really brings into the fore the importance of having such dialogues in today's environment. Addressing climate change, ensuring a trajectory towards green growth is no longer a choice. It's a compulsion for us, especially in the context of Vietnam, which by some estimates is the sixth most vulnerable country to climate change. So, the only way forward for us really is to really sustain our economic growth, which the earlier speaker said is 5.66% in the first quarter. The only way to sustain that growth in an inclusive manner is by going green and by moving towards the trajectory towards a green economy. Let me start by, so I'll just share with you today how we see the opportunities for low carbon development in Vietnam and what we think are needed to make them happen. And then I'll, towards the end, share ADB's experience and contributions in supporting Vietnam's transition to a low carbon economy. Just for the audience, very briefly, Vietnam is a very important shareholder of the Asian Development Bank. We have been a partner for ADB, for Vietnam for the last 30 years. In fact, we just celebrated a 30-year partnership with Vietnam just last month in Hanoi. Let's look at the great opportunities that Vietnam's low carbon development can offer in the coming years. As was mentioned, despite the economic headwinds, Vietnam has done commendably well. I mean, last year GDP growth was 5%, inflation was kept at low, FDI flew in at record levels, the interest rates were kept low, the credit flow was fairly healthy, I think. Public investment did pick up towards the end. There's a lot of fiscal room for the government to boost public investments. So I think all the ingredients are there, despite the continued headwinds due to factors that are not within the control of Vietnam. There is scope for investing more in green growth. And that is really the crux of the matter. How do we really move into a trajectory of green growth? As I mentioned, low carbon development is not an option, but a necessity for Vietnam, considering its climate vulnerabilities. It's already grappling with the impacts of sea level rise, extreme weather events, as was mentioned, and other climate-related challenges. Going forward, addressing climate change challenges will be critical for the country's sustainable growth. Let's not be overly influenced, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, by the very healthy FDI, because to sustain the foreign direct investment and the investor interest in the country, we must create the infrastructure, and the only way to create the infrastructure is by making them resilient and sustainable to addressing climate change. We are at a very critical juncture in our development trajectory with the dual challenge of sustaining economic growth and addressing the essential threat of climate change. Low carbon development aims to address both these challenges, but it requires significant amount of efforts from all the stakeholders. The government, as was mentioned earlier, has made very strong commitments with the focus on promoting low carbon economy. Ambitious target of net zero by 2050, as we are fully aware, and since then, systematically efforts have been made to implement it. However, I must caution that the progress has really been very slow as of now. There is a need for all of us to step up, for all of our stakeholders to step up. So, on its journey of low carbon transition, Vietnam needs to have a comprehensive, multifaceted approach to implementing its ambitious targets, which I can mention here among many other items. One is to develop a national policy framework on green economy, as well as a legal framework on green finance in line with Vietnamese practice and compatible with international practices and standards. Second is to promote sustainable agricultural practices. We know the dependence of the Vietnamese economy on agriculture is very important to ensure that agriculture is expanded in a sustainable manner. Implementing effective forest management practices is one important facet, according to us. To prioritize investments in renewable energy sources, green infrastructure, and decarbonizing industries, very, very important. So we did see this boom in renewable energy, generation in the last 2-3 years. But again, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure proper risk allocation, to ensure a predictable regulatory environment for the investors to come in. We are aware of the I am from Hanoi. I live in Hanoi, and we are aware of the significant power cuts that Hanoi faced last year, and we don't want a repetition of that. We don't want a reversion back to over dependence on fossil fuel. We don't want power cuts that are going to be dissuading foreign investors from coming into the country. Very important to really strengthen the renewable energy generation source. One thing I want to point out, and maybe I'll come back to it later as well if time permits, is the need for proper risk allocation. And I'm speaking to most of the private sector people here. We see a significant gap in what is on offer in terms of risk allocation among the various counterparts that would really ensure continued interest by international investors into Vietnam. There is a strong need to engage in international development partners such as the ADB and bilaterals and the World Banks of the world, and also to foster public-private partnership, which we see have actually slowed down quite a bit. Lastly, I want to just say that there's a large amount of financing that is required. I mean, by some estimates, $368 billion would be required by 2040, equivalent to 68% of the annual GDP of Vietnam. Where is that money going to come from? Unless projects are structured in a proper manner, unless the risk allocation is done properly, the public sector cannot finance this amount of money. The private sector has to come in to really supplement public investment. With the conducive environment, assuming a conducive environment will be put into place, let me quickly touch upon a few key opportunities we can see in Vietnam's development pathway, which all of us can contribute to. In the energy sector, as was mentioned earlier, we have seen the approval of the PDP-8 earlier this month, with about $1.2 billion public priority investment and close to $140 billion of private and other investment needed for a successful implementation. This will be helped if the Vietnam Just Energy Transition Partnership, JETP, with a $15.5 billion pledge by the international community can be implemented as soon as possible, as well as other energy transition mechanisms can be expedited. In the decarbonization of the industrial sector, a very, very key component. There's so much scope for energy efficiency. There's so much scope for ensuring green buildings. We know that it's much easier and it's much more cost effective to save 1 kilowatt hour of consumption than to actually generate 1 kilowatt hour of consumption. So let's really give it a thought on how we can really strengthen the regime for energy efficiency across all the manufacturing, all the services sectors. That is a crucial component of, I think, going green and to reduce dependence on fossil fuel. And then low carbon agro and aquaculture is another promising area, according to us. The government is formulating, as some of you know, a 1 million hectare low carbon, high quality rice growing project in the Mekong Delta region. And we believe that our experience with low carbon aquaculture can also be scaled up. And lastly, with the fast urbanization rate, as was mentioned, low carbon urban transport through e-mobility solutions, combining e-vehicles, e-buses, and transit systems will be another very, very crucial area. Last but not the least, with a population of over 100 million people in Vietnam and a fast-growing middle class, low carbon consumption and moving into a circular economy means there are enormous opportunities in the consumer sector to actually move towards a greener regime. The key government options, while we do see great opportunities in these potentials, we're also aware that much needs to be done to make them happen. To enable Vietnam's low-carbon trajectory, we believe the government could take a wide range of actions in a multi-pronged approach. First, regulatory framework needs to be strengthened. There's a lot of uncertainty on the regulatory issue when an investor faces Vietnam. We need a clear and comprehensive regulation for the green economy and the finance market, which are compatible with international practices and standards to ensure consistency and transparency. The framework will help facilitate the development of green investments to absorb green finance and promote the development of the financial market. Secondly, based on an overall green development strategy, it is necessary to define specific quantitative targets in line with Vietnam's international commitments, along with clear incentive mechanisms to create incentives for green finance development. It's not right to have a target which goes up to 2045, 2050. We don't know what's going to happen until at that time, right? So there have to be very, very well-defined intermediate targets that must be put in place, which actually can track the progress in the implementation of the government's plans. Thirdly, it's really necessary to access international capital through bilateral cooperation and international financial institutions to attract preferential capital. We know that going green is not necessarily cheap. So a lot of focus needs to be put on how to tap into ODA assistance, how to tap into concessional financing. There are lots of philanthropies, there are lots of donors who are willing to invest in Vietnam in climate-friendly investments. The focus really should move towards how do we attract that capital in the context of Vietnam. Fourthly, very briefly, implement a carbon certification process. That is a very, very powerful tool to generate revenue through a proper carbon market system, which can eventually be channeled back into ensuring green investments in the country. And of course, overall developing the capital markets to incentivize the government and the private sector to issue more green certified bonds. There are investors out there who are very, very willing to put their money there. And lastly, with the recent delegation of public investment to the provincial level from the center, the provinces need to prioritize and accelerate projects which have a significant climate financing component. Nothing can be really done without a proper climate risk assessment and without really ensuring that the climate elements are really taken care of and the output that comes out of the project is really resilient. So ADB support for Vietnam, if I may very briefly touch on. So ADB has been, as I said, a partner of Vietnam for the last 30 years. We have recently repositioned ourselves as the Climate Bank of Asia and have committed to $100 billion of cumulative climate finance for the region up to 2030. In addition, we are also exploring innovative ways to optimize our balance sheet, to improve our lending capacity. We have come out with a program called IFCAP, which basically guarantees our existing exposure and kind of releases the headroom for us to be able to divert more of our capital towards climate-related projects. We've also, as I mentioned earlier, committed $2.1 billion to supporting the Just Energy Transition Partnership Mechanism, for which the resource mobilization plan was announced by the Prime Minister at COP28 in Dubai late last year. So we are the only multilateral development bank that we actually have earmarked $2.1 billion for JETP. And we've also launched our energy transition mechanism to make sure that any transition towards a greener economy is always inclusive, is always just. Because without a just transition, things simply are not acceptable. So again, I just want to, I'm just conscious that I have 2 more minutes to go. I just want to say that a lot of action is needed. All the stakeholders need to step up. And essentially, we are, if I can be very honest, lots of targets are there. Lots of incentives are being proposed to be put on the table. But on the ground, decision-making, on the ground, we are not seeing champions in the ecosystem who actually would be able to drive projects. The money is there to come into the country to invest in green infrastructure and to facilitate the green growth. But I think a lot needs to be done in terms of setting well-defined targets that can be achieved within a realistic time frame, and also in terms of decisive action, most importantly, I'll just conclude by saying that there's a lot of regulatory uncertainty in all the topics that I touched on. There's a lot of regulatory uncertainty on the way forward, and who and to whom does the buck stop in terms of ensuring investments coming in to ensure green growth. I think that's the focus. We all need to work together with the government, with NGO, with civil society. The private sector, as was mentioned, plays a very, very important role as a responsible corporate citizen to be a part of this ESG initiative of the country, and ADB stands ready to support. I want to again conclude by thanking all of you for this wonderful occasion to give me the opportunity to share my views. Thank you once again.